You may know that after nearly 100 years, May Brothers Clothing has celebrated its final anniversary at the corner of Frank Phillips and Johnstone. But did you know it was once part of a family chain started by Russian immigrants who weren't even in the clothing business to begin with? So how did woodworkers turned tailors end up in Bartlesville in the first place? And why did the whole family change their name? Twice. Well, that's the fascinating story of the May family legacy. The turn of the century brought dramatic change to the Russian Empire. More than 1 million Jews fled to America in just a 20-year period, often escaping political and religious persecution. It was during this period that Hyman Medanik found himself on the wrong side of this racial struggle. Feeling the pressure and uncertainty of the growing conflict, Hyman made an incredible sacrifice. He gathered up his 16-year-old son, Ben, and left his wife and 3 other children behind for the safer shores of America.
It was a common situation at immigration with people who did not speak English. And the immigration officer sitting on a high desk would look down, what's your name? Medanik. And he said, well, you come from Russia, your name is Medanik, but you ought to have a ski on the end of it, so Medanik became Medansky. And of course the story is that Grandpa says, what a wonderful country. Yesterday I was Medanik, today I'm Medansky.
Once in St. Louis, Hyman and Ben traded their lumber experience in for a new profession as tailors.
We lived above, in a room above a store, and you got piecework from, there was a number of clothing factories at that time, men's clothing factories in St. Louis. And Grandfather May would do the sewing and Uncle Ben would do the pressing because the iron was too heavy for Grandpa to lift.
They scraped every penny together until they could finally send for the rest of the family, waiting in the increasingly dangerous Ukraine. The nation was pushing west along the railroad, and the Medansky family moved with it.
Ben, he was the oldest and was sort of the pathfinder of the brothers, and he had a customer, an attorney, who had a case in Tulsa. He came back and was telling Ben what a boomtown Tulsa was. And he said, if I were a bright young fella like you, that's where I would go. So Ben told the family, we're going to open a store in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was an instant success.
It wasn't long after the successful launch of their Tulsa store that another boomtown to the north would gain the Medansky family's attention. In 1909, a Bartlesville institution was born.
They came to Bartlesville in 1909, and at that time, Bartlesville had a little boom of its own. It was a microcosm of what was happening in Tulsa, really. They looked for a location and everything was rented. And they were just building the building that we occupied for 99 years. And it was a long-running association because we're the only tenant that room ever had.
In their midst, putting on the Ritz.
Jacob Medansky was the youngest of Hyman's children. He was also the first of his family to attend college and the first to serve America in the armed forces. Upon completion of those tasks in 1920, he returned to Bartlesville, where he took over as active manager of the store.
And the family were so grateful to the country that gave them an opportunity to succeed and for a new life. They wanted to Americanize their name.
And they wanted everyone to know that they were Americans, that they intended to stay here and be Americans and adopt the American lifestyle. So they shortened it and changed their name to May. And they even had they took out a full-page ad in the newspaper to explain what they were doing and why they were doing it.
They took the first 2 and the last letters, and all of the family and the stores changed their name, and the name officially became May.
The May instinct to give back to their newfound home was felt almost immediately within the community of Bartlesville. Jacob served as the president of the chamber as well as the treasurer of the YMCA. He supported the Boy Scouts and was a charter member of the Hillcrest Country Club. His wife Helen played an active role in her son's scholastic activities, but also put her skills as a trained pianist to use in helping establish the Musical Research Society.
They were so grateful, not only to the country, but to the communities that supported them, that they felt a great obligation to give back. They said every family reunion was started with a toast. Grandfather May would say, "Thank God for America." And of course the subtitle would be, "Thank God for Bartlesville."
In 1975, Mike May, Jacob and Helen's second-born son, took the reins of the May Brothers Bartlesville store. Mike grew up with a natural admiration for the family clothing business and was gifted in serving the customer and serving the community.
I know Mike has been very active in organizations and participated in a lot of activities that Bartlesville has promoted. It's just a great history for Bartlesville.
They're just good friends, devoted parents. They've both been very active in the community and still are. The great family.
Mike and his wife Marty have continued the legacy of community building established by generations before them. Mike served as president of the chamber and Hillcrest Country Club as his father did. He also has been actively involved in the Rotary Club, Bartlesville Symphony, YMCA, and Boy Scouts. He continues even today to play an active role in the Bartlesville History Museum. For her part, Marty has served as president of both the Landmark Preservation Council as well as the Friends of the Frank Phillips Home. She's been an energetic supporter of the Boys and Girls Club, Women and Children in Crisis, Service League, as well as the American Cancer Society.
One of the things that I admire about Mike and Marty is the way that they give back to our community through the years. And they've been involved in several organizations. They tend to really love the study of our history, as I've seen with Mike, because he is the president of the Trust Authority at the History Museum. And one thing for sure, without the May family, Bartlesville would not look as good as it has through the years.
The May family began their American story as immigrants with a unique perspective of just how special it is to live in a community like Bartlesville. It's no coincidence that as the May brothers grew and prospered, so did our city.
When we look at what's important in terms of legacy, it is partly that historical perspective. It's the idea of what has this family done to make Bartlesville what it is today. But it goes beyond that. The May family is a great example of a legacy family because they recognize that for any of us to be successful, it takes all of us in our combined efforts.
I think the May family is very important to the history of Bartlesville. I think they are a cornerstone in the Bartlesville community. Again, just another wonderful example of a family who has been here, has deep roots in our community, and continues to be involved in our community.
Certainly, it would appear that the destiny of Bartlesville and the May family are tightly interwoven. The May family story seems tailor-made to herald the fulfillment of a genuine American dream. The Mays chose to give back to a country and to a community they felt blessed to be a part of. They gave of themselves, and we are better for it.